This is Metal for the Masses on live365.com, the only place playing it harder, faster, and louder than anybody else. And I am joined here by two of the awesome bandmates of the band Wolvera out of the very massive, great state of Texas. So let's go down the line here. Let's start with our man Jerry. And what do you do in the band, sir? How long have you been in the band? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name's Jerry. I'm a bass player and vocalist. Been in the band since this project started. We're all original members for the most part. So yeah.
Bitch. And sir, next in line.
My name is Garth. I'm the drummer for the band. Like Jerry said, kind of we've all been here kind of from the start. I believe me and Jerry have been in a previous band before, and so he reached out to me and said he was working on some music with his brother Ozzy, which is one of the guitar players.
Not
And
the Prince of Darkness, though, right?
not yeah, right, correct. Prince
Gotcha.
of Darkness Jr., I should say.
Junior.
Very nice. The
Um,
second in line.
Yeah, he'll take over the throne once we get up there and renowned. So I just started jamming with him probably in 2020. We started putting the songs and tracks together, and then started making the push with social media and recording in 2022. So we've been kind of moving on from there, and now we're working on our second EP.
Second EP, bitching. So I want to talk about the name that you guys have, Wolvera. Is there like a meaning behind that? Is it how'd you guys come up with the name? Like what is Wolvera?
So that's kind of interesting. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. We haven't put a huge definition behind it, but the way we came up with it is we were going through, and Jerry, for some reason, has a big love for animals, like the names, like a bestiality type, dark, type vibe. And we he had Wolverine on the board, and there was another name up there, and I can't remember to save my life. But I was looking at it, and I am not a fan of the animal names as a band, and so I was trying to find any way I could to make it not an animal name, because that's kind of where it was leaning. And so I took the two words. I took Wolverine, and then I took the other word, and I kind of just chopped them up and put them together. And that's how we got Wolvera. And it sounded good off the tongue, and once we heard it, we are like, all right, that's it's we Googled it, of course, first to make sure that there wasn't 10 other bands or somebody else that was using it. And we only found one thing, that it was some guy's artwork, and he drew some beast, some Wolverine-esque type beast, and called it Wolvera. And I was like, I can't even believe that somebody else in this world was able to think of that name. Like it just, the way it came to me was so like out of the blue, and I had two of those words together. I was just so surprised that there was actually somebody else out there that had that name in anything. But no other bands or nothing, that was major. So it sounded good, and we decided to keep it.
That's awesome because I feel like that's like a big like it's like a big hurdle these days is like trying to come up with an original band name that nobody else has ever come out with before. Um, I've that and just coming out with original music these days, I feel like is another humongous hassle. But hey, you guys have definitely been able to, you know, with great stride, get over both of those hurdles. I mean, the latest track, Sacred Nothing, and your first EP, absolutely amazing start to finish. I've been jamming to it here on my show, Metal for the Masses, and I love it. So I kind of want to sit here and talk about it with you guys. Like what all went into this music? I mean, we can start with your first EP, which is out now for everybody to go check out. And Sacred Nothing, the single is out now as well. So everybody can go figure that out as well. But let's talk music. Let's talk what went into it, and you know, I guess who had the biggest roles and how did it all come to you?
Yeah, it was definitely a combined effort for sure. I mean, it was like you said, a big challenge for us to create something that is new, refreshing, but still not too far from the music we, grew up with. Yeah, I mean, the project started way before. Like Garth mentioned, we were in a band before, and we had written a different. It was still metal, and it was more hard rock, not as heavy, and we were just, jamming out to that for a long time. But there were different ideas that were being thrown around between me and Ozzy, guitar wise. At the time, Ozzy was living, I'm not exactly sure. I think it was either Houston or North Carolina for work. Um, he'd been playing guitar for as long as probably a little longer than I've been playing bass, and he would just share some ideas, just metal riffs and just just anything he could come up with. And I was always writing, same thing, just riffs here and there. And when the project finally came to be, we just started pulling from material we've had from the past, things we recorded on our phone, or just kind of recorded on our Mac or computer or whatever, and just had there. And just old files, stuff that sounded good. Not everything was great, some things sounded good at the time, but as time goes on, it's like, it sounds like a song I've heard about. Sounds like a
Yeah.
song I've heard before, or oh no, I don't like that idea anymore. It's just not what it is. So yeah, I mean, we just started getting some raw ideas out. And when Garth departed from his last band, I called him up, and we started jamming and kind of just seeing how these riffs and melodies would sound with some drums behind them, just to get an idea. And it just kind of built it from there, started building. And yeah, we were able to get this sound that's, we try to make it as unique as possible. We incorporate a lot of influence from different genres. We like different genres of music, so we try to incorporate things we like into it, kind of just spice it up so it's not very monotonous, and very like something we've heard before. So yeah.
Yeah. And it definitely doesn't sound like anything like, somebody might have heard before. Um, I just want to ask this, like you guys obviously have put like a lot. I hear all like the different like influences in what you guys have put out. And one of the big questions that's been gnawing at me, just because I really would like to know this, is like, what were like the influences that you guys had going into this stuff? Like, you know, you say like, you're a bass player, I'm a bass player. One of my biggest influences in bass playing is like Misfits, Motorhead, like, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But for you guys, like, what inspired Wolvera, and what kind of contributes to your sound?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to do the biggest sound possible. A lot of influence, obviously, from the old school bands, Metallica and Slayer, and Motorhead, Black Sabbath. But more of the modern stuff, more of the proggier stuff that comes out now, just to keep relevant. They have a lot of new techniques, a lot of things that you know have been prominent lately that we enjoy and we think are great. Um, a lot of doom stuff, some sludge stuff, high on fire, just things that we like. I mean, I think that's the fun part about it, is we try not to set ourselves in one genre. Like, we are a sludge metal band and we only play that, and we can never play anything other than that. We try to not do that, in this project. So if we want something slower and more mid-tempo, then, oh, let's try this, like, this could be good. Or we want something more upbeat, higher pace, higher tempo, then we can do that. And we when we made the EP, one of the goals was to kind of incorporate as much as we can into that, and kind of, just since it was our first project that we were going to show to the world, so to speak, we wanted to kind of throw in a little bit of everything in there, so that we don't kind of set these rails, for ourselves, where we can't, like a box we can't get out of. So we have a slower song in there, Endless Voyage, more ballady, kind of a Pink Floydish sound to it, and a little bit of you know, proggy, but not too proggy, and it's more of a ballad type, and then, we have a little bit heavier stuff, a lot of bass distortion that comes from the sludge metal world, um, towards the deep, very slow, and harder pace, slower, but, heavier, so more of the doom style and stuff like that, a little bit of influence from like ISIS, so post metal, good
And
ambient sounds.
I always have to preface, not the terrorist organization. Not that,
Yes,
not
ISIS the band. I think that's how I think that's what their website is. It's like
it's
isistheband.com.
right. We can't have an Instagram page for ISIS. Can't do that.
Exactly. ISIS the band. Yeah, those guys. So
Don't get
yeah,
it
just
twisted.
yeah, let's not associate ourselves with that. But
Um,
yeah,
Something that I do feel like we need to clarify. We keep saying the EP, and the EP is Towards the Deep, correct?
correct. Towards
Right.
the
Yes.
deep. Yep.
So for everybody who wants to check out this awesome music, it's called Towards the Deep. And Jerry, something you were saying, it's like, you don't want to be tied down to like one specific thing. Cause like, like you said, if you're a sludge doom, stoner rock band, and that's like all you play,
Hmm.
I feel like it's good to just, categorize yourself as a metal band.
Right.
Because in this day and age, I mean, like the beauty of metal is like there's so many subgenres of metal, but
Hmm.
I feel like a big problem that a lot of bands have is they get tied down in one of those subgenres, and that's it. That's all they are. So
Yeah.
I feel like, what you guys are saying, like, you're getting all these different influences from so many things, not even metal, like, you're talking Pink Floyd and all these other bands. It's just it is something that's refreshing because it's like it's not just one thing. It's
Hmm.
you are still working on your craft, but you guys have been working on it for so long. You've put the fine touchings on these things that you almost have something that almost anybody can just walk in and enjoy.
Right.
It's like a something for everybody, but it's like you don't suck at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Right.
like and I don't mean that in like in any kind of way. You guys are you're trying to reach a broader audience, and you guys are competent enough with it that you're able to do so, you know
Yeah,
Definitely. Definitely.
that's
Thank you.
yeah, that's definitely a good way to put it. I know that's one of the things that we always were talking about when we're, looking at the future about how the music's received and making sure that we're able to reach not just metalheads, but other crowds and other people to be like, oh, I really enjoyed that. It's a little heavier than I usually listen to, but there was a lot of things that I could get behind, and it sounds musically, you're able to connect with it and groove with it, and that's one of the things definitely as like when me and Jerry working together with Ozzy and everybody to get these songs together, we want to make sure that you still have that vibe that I can groove to this, but we also like to bring out that the metal in us and make sure that these songs are, sound super heavy because we love it. I mean, I love double foot pedal. Jerry loves massive bass sounds, and it fits really well together.
yep. Going over to you, Garth. I kind of want to ask you this question. What's been your biggest influence being a drummer? Like what first got you into drumming? I always drumming to me has just always been like this mystifying thing because it's like I've I don't want to say that I've tried to drum in the past. It's just like I've always just found it mystifying because it's like it just looks like you are pounding on things all freaking day long, but like there's an art form to it, and it's something that it's like not anybody can just like get up and go do, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like
I definitely see it. Yeah.
at least with like, my basic fundamentals of bass playing, it's like you're keeping the beat, you know? With drumming, it's like you're also keeping the beat, but you also look like you're going batshit crazy the entire fucking time, you know?
Yeah, that's a lot of hours of practice. I would say that with any instrument, you see people that make it look effortlessly, or they're going out and about and having a good time while they're doing it, but it still sounds very musical and it's on point. So yeah, definitely a lot of practice, but I would say it's a very interesting beginning, but when I was younger, probably about 14 or 15, I started playing. That was the big Guitar Hero Rock Band phase, and my friends have always very nerdy at that time, and so there was one guy that was older, and he was really good at. He played guitar, normal guitar, and then he was really good at Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And so kind of looked up at him and would see him play Rock Band the drums, and I would just be like, I want to do that. I want to learn how to get better at that. So I started playing Rock Band and having a lot of fun with that and those friends. And then eventually, like, I've always had some type of like stronger connection with music just listening to it. I feel more emotional, or like more like connecting with what's happening than I feel most people probably do in the day-to-day life. So I decided to buy a drum kit on Craigslist for like 500 bucks. It's a Tama Rockstar drum kit. And I got it from a music teacher that just didn't have the time to use it, and it was just in his house, just sitting there. And it was well taken care of, but he's 500 bucks is a 4-piece, straight up, like really metal, like super deep toms, 22-inch kick. And yeah, from there I started actually just practicing and telling myself, like, there was a couple months in that I realized this is either something that I'm gonna do, or this is something I'm not gonna do. I feel like with guitar or bass, it's, oh, I can play a song, and you get more out of it. With drums, I feel like there's so much work that you have to do physically to put into it. And at the time when I first started, electric kits and such like that were very new. And so buying one of those, it just was a lot different than acoustic, and it wasn't as available as they are now. Now you can get really good electric kits for a lot cheaper and have a lot more versatility. And when I first started, they were just coming out, and they're all over the place. So it's mostly acoustic playing for me throughout my whole career as drumming. And I just kind of told myself, I was like, dude, you either need to stick with this and go at it all the way, or you need to find another hobby, like something that's not going
Mhm.
to take hours and hours of your time a day to, get somewhere if you want to actually do this. So, um, I just did that and I started practicing. I mean, a lot of the start influences were definitely heavier style music, like Kill Switch, All That Remains, Deathlock, um, Devil Driver, and such. But I wasn't good enough to play those at first, so I had to take it back, and I was playing a lot of punk music. I mean, like Blink 182 and Hoob Stank and Billy Talent and all those type of bands that just were a lot of energy. Like I guess
Yeah.
like I had a lot of pent up energy in me, and getting it out on the drums was like a whole new experience in it, and it was an amazing experience, and it feels great. And especially when you start nailing those parts and everything comes out a lot more clear, and you're able to play those things, it really changes it and changes the feeling of it. So that's kind of where it started, and it just kind of folded into that. And then I started getting more technical, started looking at more funk, like Sissy Strut with the meters, and James Brown, and um, trying to think of them off the top of my head. Something House, but another funk band that's super popular. Man, can't remember the name right now. It'll
This
come back
super
to me.
popular band that I can't remember.
Yeah, well, it's 70s, 80s, 70s,
Gotcha.
80s funk. And then going into, I tried to do jazz for a little bit, but I just didn't have the patience. That one, and it's also not in the main. Like, I definitely kept up with rudiments and everything, but like it's the type of beats and rhythms that they do in jazz. It just, I play a little bit of it here and there, but it was never something that I dived, because I feel like there's two spectrum, or there's one whole spectrum, but like on one side you have metal, and then on the complete opposite side you have jazz. But it's weird how they kind of combined at the top, because if you're able to incorporate, you can incorporate jazz into metal and make it, really groovy, and put some really
All
cool
right.
rhythmic, talent into that. Um, but also at the same time, they're almost completely different and how they play. But there's both of them are very technical. But I mean, another one of my inspirations is definitely Animals as Leaders with Matt Garska, and he's able to do this fusion like jazz funky style of playing, and then make it into a very metal sounding grooves. And so just try to incorporate everything I can from all genres. I mean, even pop, I listened to Prince. I joined a Prince cover band for a short time. It didn't go anywhere, but we practiced a lot, and just going and learning those songs and understanding that timing and the groove, and it really helps you build that strong foundation, and to implement into all the other stuff that you're trying to do. So, and I think that really kind of shows in the drumming that we have on the EP and our new single, that it's not just straight like line after line of metal. There's a lot of groove to it. There's a lot, get somebody to move. I was watching a modern drummer video back when they made DVDs for the
Yeah.
drummers and stuff. And there was a jazz player on there, and he was like, the most important thing is when you're playing is to get people to dance. And when once if you can do that, then you know that you're really accomplishing what your goal is. And so I tried to always think about that when I'm putting down some type of beat or rhythm to the song.
Gotcha. Yeah. I definitely hear one of the influences that you had in there. You mentioned All That Remains. Uh
Yeah.
I hear all I which is why I was like, what are the influences in this? Because if All That Remains is not one of these, then I need to go back and check my ears. Because at least in like the new single, um I love All That Remains. I'm a big fan of Phil Labonte and what he does. Um I hear a lot of it in the at least in like the new single that you guys have out. Um but that's awesome. And another thing that you said, like, you're the biggest thing is like, get people to dance. That's that's awesome, man. That's a pretty good mindset to have when you're doing stuff. Like, you don't one of the most boring things to go to is any kind of show where like nobody's moving around.
Right.
If there's no like circle pit, or if there's no movement. Um I guess like the biggest thing I can say to add to that is I was at a show over in Philadelphia here, and it was for the band. It was melodic black metal band Harakiri for the Sky, and I felt like for the longest time I was like the only person moving around,
Mm.
Mhm.
um, especially at these kinds of shows. It was a standing room only. There wasn't really anywhere to sit, and just like a bunch of people just kind of standing. And after a while, you're just looking around and you're like, what are you people doing here? If you're just going to stand and listen to the music, you can stand and listen to the music in your house.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just got to move, man. And, but I dig that. Jerry, kind of like the same question here, going along the same lines, but you don't have to be as long as, I asked this question. I got everything, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta let Jerry talk here for a second, man.
Okay, 1 second. I remembered the band. It's called Tower of Power.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the big funk one that I was thinking of. But there,
gotcha.
yeah. Now I can.
Nice.
Now I'll end.
Yeah, no, for my bass influences, definitely there's quite a bit. Primarily Cliff Burton was a big deal. Always, I think that's like a generic answer now for most metal bass players. You gotta
Right.
say Cliff Burton, but there's
R.I.P.
a
Man.
reason. There's a
Yeah.
reason to that, just the way he was to incorporate his style and not just follow the rhythm guitars. He was able to add some flair to it, and of course the lead bass sound. Um, iconic, very, very, very good sound. Black Mountain is a song we have out that has a bass solo in there in the midsection, distortion and all that good stuff. So very, very, you know, tribute to Cliff Burton, of course. Geezer Butler, of course, really good, iconic as well. Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's probably one of the main reasons I started playing bass from when I was a kid. Just hearing, I mean, when you're a kid, you hear music, but you don't know what music is. And I remember I heard Californication. Ozzy bought the CD when it came out, and I liked it a lot, and I wasn't sure why I liked it. I thought it was a guitar. And when I actually played a guitar, I'm like, yeah, this isn't where it's coming from. This isn't the sound that I like, or that I'm
Right.
hearing that moves me.
This isn't fuzzy enough.
Yeah, like this isn't the sound that I'm, it's not the guitar that's making me enjoy the album. And it turned out it was the bass. I figured that out about a year later, and since then I never looked back. It's been bass all the way.
And then you
But
never got laid again, man.
exactly. Never got laid. Nobody cared. Nobody could hear me anyways. Just bass stuff.
I'm there with you, man. I feel your pain. Nobody
Never
cares
loud
about
enough.
us. Right.
I'm never loud enough to myself. So yeah, exactly. But yeah, just influences like that, from my bass technicality style, just that. Musically, it's just a bunch of different bands, man. Everything. I try to always expand my horizons in the rock and metal. Just different things. Indie rock, Big Strokes fan, Beach House, always really cool. Just stuff like that. Stuff that's not even metal, but really, really lyrically or musically, they find a way to stuff we write. So it's really good.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, I always like talking with like the bass players of bands, just because it's like that's kind of always been like the instrument I gravitated to, kind of like you.
Yeah.
It was just like there's something about it that just made you feel a type of way, and you were like,
Right.
I need to become this. But it was always like when I was listening to like the band that got me into everything back in the day, it wasn't even bands that were around when I was a kid. It was when my dad, of all things, just like pulled out a his old Peace of Mind uh Iron Maiden LP and was like, yo, listen to, it's like, you're listening to that stuff, listen to this shit. This is what we listened to back when I was like, back in the 80s. And it was
Yeah.
like, this is the, I'm like, there's nothing, there's nothing better than this in this moment in time. So I was just this weird kid listening to like older music while everybody's listening to like Blink 182 and
Yeah.
Kill Switch Engage and fucking Avenged Sevenfold and all this stuff. Like, and I'm just like, you guys should really listen to Iron Maiden. You guys
Listen
should
to the
really
old
listen to,
stuff. Yeah.
right, AC/DC's where it's at, man. Like Black Sabbath's the shit. But I dig it, man. I really do. God, going into so much here. I want to try to steer this back to your guys' music. We've been talking about your influences, and we've talked kind of a little bit on what your album is. I mean, it's encompassing so many things into one. Um, how has your music been, I guess, received overall? Because I see, like, you guys got a pretty decent following. I mean, like, it's awesome. You guys have good music. I would assume a lot of people like it. And how's it been going for you guys so far?
Yeah, it's definitely been good. Like we've gotten some positive receptions. Simply, the live shows have helped a lot. It kind of helps show off. What the present the music in its true form.
Yeah.
Sometimes things could get lost in translation sometimes when you record them. We tried our hardest not to. What we record is what we sound like. Big and heavy, and when we play live, we try to replicate that. We try to just make it as big and as powerful as can be. Have a overall sound that just kind of flows through. But yeah, I mean, good reception. I mean, people hate it, they don't tell us. So but
Well,
who
that's good
knows?
then.
They haven't told us. But yeah, no, I mean, we've gotten some good reception. A lot of we try to show off the music as much as we can, playing live or just communicating with other local bands, and artists here in Dallas, just showing off our music. Everybody said good positive stuff, and we get invited to shows here and there whenever we can play them. Of course, we try to always play them as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, the reception's been good.
Have because I've interviewed a another band out there from the Texas area, Sadistic Force.
I don't think I've heard of
Don't
them.
know. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
More on the thrashier side.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe you guys knew each other. But what is I guess like you guys have toured around, played live. Have you guys gotten out of Texas? Have like you guys done like mini tours? Like what's the biggest venue you guys have played so far?
Well, we haven't got out of Texas with this project. I I would say we did play. We were officially invited to South by Southwest.
Okay.
So yeah, we were able to get a spot.
Unofficially, officially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
We just
funny.
kind of showed up and
Y-
yeah.
well,
We snuck
well,
we snuck in.
yeah, the reception was really good. I was very surprised. But yeah, so we applied for it, but they don't necessarily take metal bands. It's definitely not their genre of choice. And so there was a couple weeks or a month before the event went on down in Austin, and we know a local DJ that had rented out one of the venues for a couple days, and he was like, "We're putting on a hard rock like metal type show on Saturday. You guys should come down and play." And we were all about it. I mean, it was a wild experience for sure. We played at a place called Voodoo Donut,
Okay.
and yeah, it's kind of like crazy custom donuts that they sell like till 3 a.m. or whatever. And the place it was a little I was a little worried at first because the walls were all brick, and so I was like, we're gonna be extremely loud in
Yeah.
here, and I hope that these people know what they're getting into. I was worried about the venue owners and being like, I hope you know what you signed off on.
Right.
But
If we bring the house down, literally, it is not our fault. Right.
yeah.
I mean, it's a fucking donut shop, you know. You can just imagine like
You could just build another one.
windows and brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not designed to hold music
Right.
It's a metal
in any
music for
way,
sure.
shape, or form.
And the stage was kind of small, but like the place itself was relatively big. I mean, bigger than a typical normal donut shop. But it was really great. There was a lot of people coming in and out. People, just listening to the music, buying donuts. I don't know how they made that happen. We had a lot of people coming off the street that were recording us through the window. So it was definitely not what I expected. I expected metal in South by Southwest is not going to be accepted. They're probably going to tell us that we're too loud and, hey, you guys need to keep it down, whatever. But everybody loved us. There's a lot of people that stayed and watched. The crowd was actually a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be for that type of venue. So we're really excited about that. And I think that's kind of been the biggest highlight so far. I mean, we did play some places. We have had some fun ones. We did
That
something
wasn't
called.
the fun one. That sounds
I mean,
amazing.
no, that was
That one was really fun. Yeah,
that
that
was
was
yeah.
really
I
fun. Yeah.
didn't mean it that way, but we also had another venue. It's called Kiki's House, and it's literally just this house that these guys put on shows every weekend. It's just
Shout
somebody's
out to
house.
Kiki's house.
Yeah, and we got invited to go play up there, and I mean it was wild. There's so super cramped. There's people shoulder to shoulder moshing inside this house, and that was a wild experience. Because within any of the other bands that I've been, it's always been bars or maybe a festival, an art festival or something. And so being in that type of environment was really thrilling and exciting. Like Ozzy's guitar and shoulder were hitting my cymbals or like running into my drum kit. He was so close, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's people crowding us and everything, and so that was really exciting.
Hell
A
yeah.
lot of energy.
Something I want to kind of touch back upon. You were talking about when you were playing Voodoo Donut, like you were kind of expecting, not to have the positive reception that you had. And something that like I have to like, kind of tug on right there is like, I feel like that is because here on Metal for the Masses, at least, what I always try to do is I try to I'm very much like the kind of guy that'll stand on the soapbox and say that the mainstream music scene is garbage. It's all corporatized and it's just like, it's hollowed out.
Sure.
And one of the big things that they, I think that they push is that people don't like metal, that it's not marketable, and that people don't like it, and that it's, but I think at the end of the day, it's like people do like metal. People do like the raw, visceral sound that it is, because what I always say is like, you're never going to get a more real genre of music than metal. There's nothing is held back. Punches are not pulled. You're there, and it is, it's there. It's real. It's brutal. It's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, what I would say is you have pop music. You have this thing that is uh, more accepted by what I would call the corporate music scene, because what I would say is it's more malleable to people. It is, I would say, more fake, more of a facade. It kind of wears more of a mask. It's not as real to people, and so that's why people might take to that a lot more. But what I always like with metal is it is real. There's nothing held back. There is never anything held back. And I think that what you saw is the propaganda versus the real life, what happens with it. People love metal. It's just, we're told all around us that it's too loud, that you're going to get shut down, that people don't like that kind of stuff, that it's, oh my god, these teenagers with their loud ass fucking music. It's like, now people love that shit. So I'm just like, keep turning it up.
Yeah, I will say that something that we've said as a band is we know that when we get the fan, like we go to a show, there's new fans, they love our stuff. They're not going away.
Right.
Those metal people, metal fans, they're with you. If they like your music and they follow it, they're gonna want to see every step. They're gonna want to be there. They're gonna go to the shows. And so it's definitely like, as you're saying, onto that point, I think the metal fans are a lot more genuine, and they definitely feel a lot more. I feel like pop is like a fantasy storytelling. They like took all of that amazing storytelling that classical rock had with like Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones and Aerosmith and that type of stuff, and then they kind of fantasized a little bit more on top of it.
They
And
sprinkled more of that fairy tale shit onto it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so with metal, it's like it's very true, and it's very deep, and it's some of it's a lot of dark, but it's also very eye-opening, and to see that, oh, there's other people that feel that type of way or pain about something, and the way they express it is so raw and real that people really they generate towards it, and they really connect with it. So yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, though, for sure.
And you also don't see mosh pits with pop music. So
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it with
Definitely,
I
some.
don't
yeah.
I don't see people getting punched in the face in pop concerts. So you know what, man? There's something wrong there.
Definitely not. Yeah.
I saw it on EDM, like some EDM the other day. People were moshing, and I was like, I get like stomping and dancing crazy and stuff, but I didn't know that they were moshing now. And so I was like,
That's wow. I don't know how you mosh to. I
I think
just
it's just, yeah, people just going crazy, like
I
I
they're,
think,
guess
yeah, I
yeah,
think the mosh is the final form of just releasing all your
it's primal, dog.
all
yeah.
that built up excitement that you're feeling for
Right.
whatever you're listening to. It
You
comes
go
out.
to
I mean,
that you go to that mundane 9 to 5, 5 days a week, dude, and you finally get to this shit, and you just let it's primal, dog.
yeah,
And
Right.
that's
the
what it
music,
is.
the feelings just come out, and I saw it at it shocked me. I saw it at a Kanye West concert I went to like 5 years ago. Before
You can't
Kanye
even
West
say
was
that guy's name anymore.
yeah, before Kanye West is what he's been up to. But yeah, I was in Houston. I went to a concert there to see him, and yeah, it was weird. The kids started moshing. It was wild. I was like, oh shit, that's the last thing I would have expected, but they were liking it, I mean, you could just tell. I mean, it was mid-set, you know, when it finally happened, because it's just like the music, the vibe starts hitting, you know, all that built up excitement that you've been holding on to, and you know, and the music finally drops and it's there, and it's just that's like the final thing your brain can do is just let it all out, and you just start fucking the mosh pit just starts to happen.
Right. You just start
What it
swinging
is.
hands. That's
It
Yeah,
just
it.
starts happening. That's
Kanye
what it
concert.
is. Yeah, no rhythm, nothing. You just go with it. It's just all that comes out. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the day we start seeing mosh pits at a Taylor Swift concert is kind of the day where we gotta say that we've won. It's over. There's no
So
more.
we want it.
It's reached its peak.
Same facts.
But so we've talked a lot about your guys' stuff, your experience, your music that's out right now. What's on the horizon for you guys? Like, what do you guys got planned for the future? You know, what's upcoming?
Yeah, we're definitely we're going back to the studio on Wednesday. We're gonna record a new song. You know, we're working on a new EP, trying to do 5 to 6 songs on it. You know, something new. Um, Definitely, you know, keep the energy going on it. A little more upbeat stuff, heavier stuff. You know, stuff we can mosh to. You know, not saying that Towards the Deep wasn't like that, but you know, we're just trying to again, you know, just push the envelope a little bit harder. You know, kind of challenge ourselves a little bit more, and just write stuff that's a little bit heavier, a little bit faster. You know, but yeah, that's kind of our main goal for this year. You know, we want to release that EP. We want to play some new shows. We got some new merch coming eventually. You know, got some new ideas that are brewing. Currently have a couple T-shirts out there, but you know, we're trying to make a little bit more merch, and we got
You gonna
get a
start
website
selling
going.
coffee?
Wolvera coffee. We thought about maybe a beer, a Wolvera craft beer. You know,
Or
people do
tequila?
that.
No.
Tequila. Everybody does a tequila.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, but yeah, just a lot of stuff. You know, it's a very exciting project for us. You know, we take it seriously, but we also like to have fun with it. You know, just
Well, you
want to
guys are
create
in
merch.
Texas, so I mean, like, what could you? You guys are in Texas. Start sounding like Wolvera cannons. You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah,
Or pistol
Wolvera,
holders.
you know, just like
Yeah.
not remember the Alamo, remember the Wolvera.
Wolvera, remember
That's a
Wolvera.
that's a good
Yep.
slogan to use.
Yeah,
Remember the Wolvera. That's not bad.
remember the Wolvera.
Hell yeah.
I'll write that
Yeah,
one down.
yeah, I mean, along with yeah, we just try to keep it going. We try to keep a schedule set up and goals every couple months and refresh those with something new. As well as the new merchandise, where we have a new website that will be coming live here in the next month or so, so that people can join our mailing list, so that they can find out on upcoming stuff. They can be in the ins and outs of what we're doing and how that process is going, and then also be able to buy the merchandise from our website worldwide. So we're definitely working on that. And then, as Jerry said, we're working on the EP. We want to kind of take that energy from Sacred Nothing, a single release, and kind of push it into the next 5 songs. We see a lot of reception with the high energy and the impact when we're playing at the shows. So we definitely we're trying to dive a little bit more into that and see where that takes us, and get more excitement. Like you said earlier, you went to that show and nobody was moving. And so we want to make more of those moments where people can really, even if they didn't want to move at first or whatever's happening, they can't help themselves. Like so much energy is going on. Everybody's having, moving, having a good time, that they're going to want to do that too. So that's been our definitely one of the bigger goals with the new music, and then merchandise, of course, and our website, and just try to keep the ball rolling. It's definitely a continuous battle to be independent music artist and band, and keep pushing that and gaining that audience and keeping up the content on social media, and everything else that involves in it. So it's definitely a
Yeah.
lot.
It is a lot. Like even like I don't even write music here, but just like the social media aspect of everything these days is like making sure that you're like, that you don't go like a week without at least posting something. Making sure that you're following people, having people follow you back, just that kind of stuff. Just keeping that, like you're saying, keeping that ball rolling. it's tough. It's not like it was back in the day, where it was a constant, because those people didn't have social media.
Right.
Where it was like a constant, like, you're out on the street, you're in the studio 24/7, then you're on tour, and then you're good. That was the promotional aspect. That was the social media aspect of it. Nowadays it's like it's easier, but it's at the same time it's harder because you now have to 24/7, or at least every day of the week, make sure that you remind people, hey, we're still here, or else within not even a week, maybe a day, somebody might forget. Because I feel like, at least with social media, people's attention spans have just fucking dropped,
Right.
Yeah. And there's so
That's
much content. There's so
yeah.
much content there that, if you're not the metal band they're listening to, they're listening to somebody else.
Exactly.
So you gotta constantly be not annoy people with it, but to some degree almost be at that fine line where
You
you
just
gotta
got to make
constantly
sure
remind
that
people
you're
you're
not,
present. Yeah.
right, that you're present. Like, you don't have to
Yeah.
be like at the forefront, but you at least have to be around the front
Yeah.
Well,
people's view.
yeah, it's
Definitely.
it's the entertainment aspect. It's
Yeah.
you got to be entertaining enough, and also, like you touched on, short, the attention span. I mean, a lot of the videos that we post on YouTube will be either our full songs, or you can check out, like, we have some drum playthroughs of the songs on our YouTube as well. And
Right.
if you look at the analytics, it's about 30 seconds to a minute where people are like, okay, I've seen enough. It's on to the next.
It's a YouTube short / TikTok video length.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's hard, man. It's hard, not just for you guys, but for a lot of artists, and those kinds of websites that people, and even the younger people, have been using, have kind of almost wired you to think that anything longer than like 15 seconds is too long,
Yeah.
which, God help music if that
Yeah.
continues.
Right.
Like, oh my God. um yeah, I don't know how we combat that going forward, because, like, obviously you don't want to try to compile everything into like a YouTube short,
Right.
or well, you can't even do a TikTok video anymore. That shit's getting banned. uh it's tough, man. um
Yeah.
that's one of the tougher things. Streaming platforms these days are pretty cutthroat when it comes to newer artists, people just trying
Absolutely.
to go along with it. I mean, like, I'm no fan of Spotify at all. I know that some people will defend it and be like, we use it for a thing that I hear a lot from artists is like, we use it for uh, exposure. And I just am like, you're getting abused by the people that have the money to pay you more than less than pennies, but you're getting paid less than pennies.
Right.
But now they've even made it harder, because it's like, now it's per 1,000 streams per song, which is, it's nuts. So I mean, like, the industry at large is definitely not helping the artists out, and I
Right.
feel like it's up to the artists themselves, to kind of, I don't know, take your, not just take your art back, but just like take your scene back. You know what I mean? That's like one of the things that I harp on a lot on my show, is like, this is art. It's not for profit. Yes, it's great to get paid, but if you're only in it to get paid, then it's not art. It gets hollowed out. And I feel like there's been a lot of hollowing out of the scene over the years. And I feel like it's kind of turning around. I feel like a lot more people are starting to get vocal on it. Um, but there's only so much you can do by yourself if a lot of people don't start standing up and really just making more of a stink about it. Then I think it only just goes one way. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's always been a battle with the artists versus the labels, and now they've just mechanized a new tool,
Right.
and you have to learn how to try to use the tool to the best of your advantage. But I think there's also a limelight in it that they don't have all of the control. You know, if you can, because most of the time labels now, they'll only reach out to you after you've made something of yourself, you
Right.
know, and unless you're in with them and they, you know, you get pushed in by somebody else, they won't come looking for you. If or like you could put your music out, and if you're not selling or if you're not making these moves, then they don't want to look at you. And then after that they want to go, okay, hey, look, we'll invest this much money into you, and then you'll, you know, you work it off basically. You know,
Yeah.
here's a loan and then you'll pay it back with your work. And but now with the social media, with the streaming platforms, even though they're not really necessarily paying out as much as I think they should, they you still gives you a better opportunity to be independent and make things happen by yourself. And if you have good content and good music and you're consistent with it, then you can break through and you can make something happen. It's just like you said, the competition is wild. There's people doing it all the time. There's people putting out new stuff all the time. And it's holding those people's attention and growing those fans and being true as an artist that it just takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of people doing it. So it's a lot to go through and a lot to get out on the other side and make it a successful career as a musician. You know, and so that's the name of the game, I guess, right now. It's changed and it keeps changing, and you got to keep up with that change.
Speaking of change, man, how do you guys feel about AI?
It's helped me write some emails. It helps me organize some things to reach out to venues and promoters and trying to get things sounding a little bit more legit, like just more, you know, like commercially structured instead of being like, "Hey, what's up? Can we come play here?" or like, "What's happening here?" You know, it gives a better layout. So I definitely think it's helped with that. But like on the music side of creating things, I don't know what to think so far of that yet. I think it's pretty wild what it can do, and I think that it's it makes people's life a lot easier if they have to make a song. If say they're doing a podcast or they do other marketing media or whatever, they can have AI create a song for them, and they can use that song, and they don't have to pay artist or get somebody else involved. But I will say, I think that the human mind is always, at least for now, I think has a step up because there's the uniqueness of the individual, there's the experiences of the individual, and if they're able to articulate that in a very, you know, profound way, which most of the successful artists are able to do, that's I think that's always going to put them apart from, you know, AI. And like AI can copy and everything, but I don't think it's at the point where it's creating this new unrealized, you know, artist or artwork that the musicians are still able to do as humans. So
Right.
Yeah, I think with
Jerry, what do you
time,
think?
yeah, I think with time, AI is going to be able to do some really, 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 really good stuff. I mean, it already does, right? In the span of what AI has been famous, or at least it's been the mainstream, what, like a year or two, maybe, you know, when they finally first came out that it was doing drafts of movie scripts and it was all incorrect spelling and wrong and everything was all weird. Like, what the hell is a robot trying to say? And now it's like you could talk to it and it sounds like a person and it has conversations with you, right? So with the coming years, it's going to be very, very advanced. I don't know, I think it's damaging to the artists to some degree, but I think if you look back, I think it's going to become a new tool eventually, kind of like CGI was to practical effects, in the movie world. It could be seen like, oh, it's removing practical effects. How are, it's easier now. But in reality, its own challenges came with that. CGI became very well used in movies, and it's also very hard to do and very expensive. AI is probably the next step with that. CGI is becoming obsolete, AI is coming in, and unfortunately, as an artist, as people, sometimes you gotta jump on it. You gotta adapt, because if you don't, then you could possibly get left behind. Um,
I I agree to an extent with like with that, what you guys are saying. Yeah, adapt or die. Absolutely. But my biggest fear is that I I don't want a because somebody can just use AI to be like, hey, AI, I want you to make a Pink Floyd, a Pink Floyd song, but put Plankton from SpongeBob as
Right.
Yeah.
the vocalist of it, and it'll do that, and boom, now it's like, well, you can go be like, well, I created that. Now it's a song by
Mm.
blah blah
By
blah,
this person. Yeah.
Joe Schmo, and now Joe Schmo's famous for using AI to just do that when it wasn't really any effort, and it kind of takes away from actual artists. I know a big thing going on in the scene right now is AI art on
Right.
albums. People are very one side or the other. There's no real common middle ground in that
Yeah.
battle. It's either you're a piece of shit for using AI art, or it's like, hey man, do you? And
Right.
there's no middle ground. And I understand why, because like there's people that are out there that's their living, that's what they do, and it's like the CGI versus practical effects. You're
Yeah.
taking somebody's livelihood away. um and you can argue both sides. I mean, like, well, how much would this artist have charged for this art,
Right.
versus the artist was, the music artist was using this because they were trying to work within their own budget. And
Right.
it's a fine line to walk, because
Definitely.
I feel like with AI being introduced into art, into not just visible art but also auditory art,
Mhm.
you're you're going to have a massive amount of pushback no matter what, because there is that fear of replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
i I don't I just worry for, like, not just bands like yourself, but like even the next generation of artists. Like, what are they going to have to compete with? Because like right now we're competing, this generation, and even the generation before that, they were competing with other artists, like other physical people. Like, we got to outsell these guys, we got to outperform these guys. you know Metallica, Megadeth the shit out of this thing, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
um you know 10, 15, 20 years from now, I mean, like, it's going to be little Timmy's trying to start a band, and he's competing against the Terminator. you know it's like,
That's true. No, I think the way I kind of see it, and I hope maybe, I'm not saying I hope, but it could possibly go the way where if AI does go a certain way where it starts to, most music is made that way. I think there's always going to be a small uh, underground scene, or a bottom, a group of people that keep it the original way. Like it could be a certain of a kind of how punk started, right? Punk
yeah,
was underground. You had Pink Floyd, and you had huge big bands playing arenas, and then times were tough in England, and it was just like, hey, you know what? We're going to keep it short, heavy, and quick, and talk about the real shit that's happening. And that became its own scene, which eventually exploded into, a huge punk scene that happened. So there could always be some kind of underground thing going on where it's like, fuck AI, fuck everything that happens with that. This is the real stuff. This is what happens. And then, the bubble kind of bursts of AI. It's like, there's still this whole thing that's growing underneath it that eventually will flourish. But what's gonna happen? Well, I don't know, right? It could always who
I know
knows.
exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to snowball off of what you just said. It's going to be the next generation of punk, neo
Yeah.
punk, or like, whatever it's going to be called. And
Hmm.
you're just going to see like actual, like, fleshy human beings singing about, the robots are taking away our stuff,
Yeah.
as they're being arrested by robot police.
But
And that's
yeah.
gonna that's gonna be it.
Yeah. Well,
Yep, exactly.
yeah, I think it's like the DJ, thing. Like, I think the one thing that is always gonna, and this could be that it's maybe with the older or my generation and older crowd, is watching a musician live is gonna is 10 times way better than just listening to an AI's music live. And I
Right.
think that's gonna be something that holds out for a long time. But you also see, like, one thing that I always fight with, and this before AI, was the DJ scene, where they're taking samples of songs, and there is artwork involved in it, no doubt. But the technicality of, like, actually playing those instruments, like, most of the DJs don't play instruments. They just know how to combine these songs together and do crazy effects on them that, are that make it more entertaining, and people, love hearing those sounds, like dubstep and all that stuff, which is, there is technicality in that, but it's definitely different than being a musician per se. um but I always will think that being in a live performance, watching a musician, because one thing that I see now and today is, I if you bring friends to a live show of music that they don't normally listen to, and they see this new music live, they love it. They're like, "Oh, I had a great time. The music was awesome. Seeing those people play live, it's such a huge energy, and it's exciting, and it's, even if you don't listen to that type of music, you still had a good time." And
Right.
I don't think that's gonna translate with AI, because of the people, the artists themselves, and the show, and all that stuff. So that's definitely be one thing that I think will help stand apart from the AI coming in. And like you guys had said, I think it's just going to be a different part of the market. Like, it's going to be just another thing added into the competition of you know catching people's attention, and promoting your music, and being different. So,
I think one way we'll be able to tell how it's going to go is, I don't know if you guys saw Kiss just completely sold their likeness to what is it, Pop House or whatever house, whatever the company is,
Yeah,
and
they
they're just
sold
going to
their.
be the just digital avatars now.
Mm,
oh,
I see.
So
Kind of like
so
gorillas or like a
sort of
metalocalypse, like that.
right, like sort of like the gorillas. So
Okay.
it's going to be like the original Kiss music, because they're not going to be making any more new music,
Yeah.
but it's going to be, instead of there being like a live Kiss band playing at one location on this night, it's going to be their digital avatars playing at multiple different locations on one night. So I
wow.
mean,
Yeah.
like that's going to be what that is. So I mean, like, we'll see. I I'm weary of that kind of stuff. I've always been weary of like the artificial ever since they started doing like the hologram shows back in like
Mm,
20, the early 20 teens
2012,
with like,
yeah,
yeah,
2010,
with like
2010, right?
Ronnie James Dio,
and
the
Tupac and
hologram
stuff.
show.
Michael
Yeah,
Jackson.
I've always been weary of that kind of stuff, because it's just like I don't think you can ever say I saw this band live if the
Right.
person
Yeah.
is dead and they're not really there. So it's like it kind of takes away from the feeling of like, what you were saying, the live feeling, the live show
Yeah.
feeling. It takes away from that entirely. And I think that that's going to be one thing that is going to greatly hurt not just the music scene as a whole, but it's just going to hurt just the experience, the concert experience as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know if I'm speaking out of tongue, because I don't really know or understand the younger generation about how they perceive that. But I would assume, if Kiss is dead, like, say in 20, 30 years, and Kiss is dead, but their avatars are playing, then it's not going to matter to the younger crowd
No,
if they saw them live or not. They're just going to say, I went to that Kiss concert. And
exactly.
so that is definitely a scary thought, to think that you can just, they're almost immortal in a sense, through AI. And where that goes, I do not know yet.
I think the good part would be, the music is still being heard and it's being exposed. People are getting exposed to it, whether it's Kiss, Metallica, the Beatles, 20, 30 years from now.
Yep.
Um I think the fucked up part would be that like if they charge you the fucking prices they charge you now to see the AI version, because then that's like
Exactly.
that's where the fucked up part comes. Because then it's
Well,
not about the music, because it's never been about the music to these
it ever.
companies, right?
That's what I've
So
been saying since the
that's
beginning.
where the
It's like
bullshit comes up, where you're like, hey, here's $400 a ticket to see Kiss AI. Like that's not even the fucking guy.
it's
Like it's just
right.
like that's bullshit. That would
This
be
is a
bullshit.
TV screen. Like, what is
Yeah,
this?
that's bullshit. But positive being the music still being out there. But yeah, I think that's what the bad side of it would be. Hey, everybody can see Kiss, but you still got to pay that top dollar for it, and it's like, well, that's
Right.
fucked up. Like
Because like one
that's
of the things that like one of the big things that I've always harped on is back in 2010 when Ronnie James Dio died of stomach cancer, and then
mhm.
like 2-3 years later, Wendy started doing the hologram. Like I feel like that's where this shit started.
Yeah,
Is fucking Wendy Dio, but it you started doing the hologram tour stuff, and like they were charging like actual money as if you were seeing Ronnie James Dio alive, still
yeah,
live, and it was like, what the, so like I feel like no matter what, they're going to charge a ridiculous amount of money to go see whoever it is, whoever, whatever retired and or dead band you're going to now see on a big screen in a stadium
yeah,
or wherever. It's just, I don't know, man. I just, that's not going to a concert for me. That's I am now with strangers when I could have just been at my house and watched this on television and
Right.
not paid any. I could have just rented this and not paid any money.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
It's odd, man. Like what the AI scene's going to be going forward. I think all it started with the Dio hologram, and now it's really going to all depend on how well uh you know Avatar Kiss goes. And that's
Yeah,
just, I feel like it'll go one of two ways. It'll either crash and burn, and people will come to the light and realize that physical media is the way, or it will go extremely well, and we'll have robot overlords. I don't know what I think it's gonna go one of those two ways. But
yeah, definitely one of the two ways.
hell yeah. But hey, guys, it's been a great interview. I'm very happy that you guys could join me here on this, and I'm very anxious to see what this next EP is going to be. Do you guys have like some names written down for what the new EP could be?
Currently, no, nothing yet. We're still kind of in the writing process. We're trying to just tie it all up together. But I think soon enough we should have some more information to share with you guys.
Hell yeah. I'm telling you, man, if you use Remember the Wolvera, just let me know. I'm not going to charge. I won't charge you nothing.
If we make
I
some
just want,
stickers or
right.
t-shirts, we'll send you one your way for sure.
Hell yeah. I love it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here on Metal for the Masses. Say hello to Ozzy. Say, very upset he couldn't join us. Because apparently that's who I've been talking to this entire time on social media.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's all right. But your music kicks ass. I can't wait to see what else you guys come out with. And you know, here's to your musical endeavors, man. Keep fucking jamming out, keep pushing forward.
Thanks,
Awesome, man.
Ben.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, man, for sure. It was a
Yeah,
great
we
time.
really appreciate it.
No problem.